All right. So if you are someone who has wondered, like, why you are consciously aware that you're capable of more. So you have that feeling, deep down inside that you're capable of more. But then when it comes to actually seizing an opportunity, getting on with your work, you don't feel it. If you're someone who feels that disconnect between what you know you're capable of and what you actually feel able to do in the moment, this, my friends, is for you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Caroline Flanagan. I am the Black Lawyer's Career Coach, and I'm on a mission to help you overcome those internal and external barriers that are stopping you from, achieving your career goals and therefore fulfilling more of your potential. So today I want to introduce you to a concept that I've created, and want you to think about as the confidence gap. So in this session, I'm going to, number one, I'm going to tell you what the confidence gap is. I'm going to tell you how you know you actually have it. Let me just check I'm going live on Instagram as well. Perfect. I'm going to tell you how you know you have it. So what I'm covering is what the confidence gap is, how you know you have it, why it's important, like why it's really important that you know what the confidence gap is, and then what you need to do to close it. And I'm going to tell you how to get started today so that immediately, literally after this episode or this session, you can start this work and start building your confidence and closing that confidence gap. All right. So what is the confidence gap then? So I describe this as the gap between the confidence that you have earned, right, through your life experiences, and then the confidence you feel when it's time to get to work. So the confidence gap is the gap between the confidence you've earned and the confidence you feel in the moment. For example, let's say you have got a catalog of successes to your name. You've got a long stream, a track record of so many successes, so many achievements. And yet, when opportunities come your way, you avoid them because you're going to fail. You think you're going to fail. You think you're not going to achieve your goal. That's one example, right? There's your lived experience of having succeeded and achieved so much. And then there's you in the moment going, oh no, I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm not up to that. I'm going to fail. Another example, you've experienced failures in the past, right? You've experienced setbacks, you have overcome challenges, and you've actually got a whole history of an experience of having overcome those challenges. So you've got that, that's your lived experience. But then what happens is, as soon as you, let's say, are up for promotion, or you're at that level where you should be going for promotion, you should be setting those career goals, you lean back, you avoid it, because what you think in your mind is, oh, but I might fail. And if I fail, how will I come back from that? You see the idea of failure, or the idea of this being a big challenge, as something you couldn't overcome, you couldn't meet the challenge. So there's your lived experience that says one thing, and then there's your brain in the moment saying quite another thing. I want to give you a client example as well here. So a client of mine inside Be the First, she was up for partnership and had been, well, when I say up for partnership, she was at the right level for partnership. She'd heard lots of the right noises, indicating that she was both eligible and a serious candidate for promotion to partnership. It was still a little bit opaque, as a lot of you will have had this experience if you are at that level where you don't quite get that reassurance that yes, it's in the bag, or yes, it's definitely going to happen. And so I was coaching her one day in one of the sessions in Be the First, and I could hear lots of uncertainty coming through from her. And this was at a critical moment where it seemed clear to me as her coach that what was required was that she lead the way with her confidence and her self-belief that she was ready for partnership, that she would make a fantastic partner, right? That she had all the experience, the skill set. She was the right caliber for this role. And that was lacking, right? It was missing in her that confidence. So we started coaching around this. And I asked her point blank, do you actually believe you should be made partner. And it was so fascinating and interesting as her coach to watch her face crumble. Like, I watched as she became like a much smaller version of herself, despite having spoken to me, shared with me very convincingly all of the reasons why she knew she was capable of being partner. She knew she was ready. She knew she had the experience. And yet in the moment, when I asked her, did she believe she was partnership material, she didn't feel it. So you can see there again an example of the confidence gap, a difference between what she knew deep down inside she was capable of, but then what she felt in the moment when it came time to actually say, yes, I'm a great candidate. Yes, I'm the one for this job. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, you should promote me. She didn't feel that confidence. Okay, so I've given you 3 examples there to help you identify like what exactly the confidence gap is. So now let's talk about you and how you know you have it. You know you have a confidence gap when you have the thought, my success is down to luck. I don't deserve to be here. I'm a fraud. Yeah, any minute now I'm going to be exposed. If you have any thoughts like that, then this is evidence of a confidence gap, right? A difference between your lived experience and where you are and actually how you feel, right, in the moment, the confidence you feel. You also know that you have a confidence gap if your emotional experience of your work, right, of showing up for your job is one of feeling anxious, feeling inadequate, feeling that you're not enough, feeling in a constant fear of messing up and of failing and of being exposed, right? So inadequacy, anxiety, stress, maybe from the strain of feeling like you have to like put on a brave face or cover up, or you have to hide the fact that you don't think you deserve to be where you are, like hide the fact that you don't think you're good enough, right? So fear and anxiety and stress and not enoughness, that's how I like to describe it, feeling that you're not enough. So if you have any of those feelings, then you, my friend, have a confidence gap. Another way you know you have a confidence gap is in all of the ways that you behave in the workplace, in your attitude to work, in your approach to opportunities, even in your relationships, where that behavior comes from those feelings of not enoughness or from the fear of being exposed. So, for example, if you are a perfectionist and it's that perfectionism that comes from, oh my gosh, it needs to be perfect. Or a version of that you might have is, oh, I hold myself to a higher standard. It's different. The standard has to be exceptional, have to be perfect, right? If you labor over emails, if you excessively check your work, if you say yes to every request that comes in because you're afraid of like what it might be and how it might be interpreted, what it might mean if you were to say no or set boundaries, yeah, that's suggestive of a confidence gap. If you procrastinate, in other words, you're putting it off through fear that you won't be able to do the job, you won't be able to do a good enough job, you don't know enough, you're not experienced enough, you're not articulate enough, you procrastinate, this is a sign. If you constantly second guess yourself, if you spend a lot of time spinning around like, should I, shouldn't I, not being able to make decisions, like through fear of what that decision might lead to, through fear of making the wrong decision. If you hide, so you're busy doing the work, you'd prefer to just get on with the work, but there's a form of hiding behind the scenes, staying in the shadows where it feels safe, where you avoid exposure, avoiding the spotlight. This is a sign that you have a confidence gap. If you keep your head down and hope, this is classic because you're keeping your head down, you're doing all the work, you're overworking, right? Often just doing more and more work, like really focusing on delivering value through the number of hours, the amount, the quantity of work that you're doing. And you're just hoping that that will be enough. Hoping it will be enough for somebody to notice how hard you're working and be like, oh yes, they'll sort of pluck you out of obscurity and just promote you based on all of those hard working hours you've been putting in. In other words, you're avoiding the actual work that gets you noticed and promoted, like being in the spotlight, like showcasing your value, like being visible. Yeah. If you are working hard with your head down and hoping, That's me. If you're watching the video, I'm doing head down and hoping, right? If that's you, this is a sign, a signal that you have a confidence gap. Other examples, you sidestep opportunities. This is my new favorite verb for what I see so many of you doing, what so many people do, and I see my clients doing inside Be the First, or even inside Confident Black Lawyers. I'm going to tell you about Confident Black Lawyers towards the end. Sidestepping an opportunity comes by, and they kind of go by, don't they? Like they kind of come up and then they sort of recede into the background, and you have to seize the opportunity, right? When it's right in front of you. But I see you sidestep it. Sometimes an opportunity comes right at you and it's perfect for you and you're qualified for it. And it's exactly what is your growth in that moment. And you just sidestep it, avoid it. Yeah, don't put yourself there. You, my friend, if this is you and you think all you do is just conjure up all these reasons why it's not the right opportunity, or it's not the right time, or someone else is the right candidate for it, this, my friend, shows you probably have a confidence gap. And the last example I'll give you is if you are someone who you have really high expectations of yourself, and then you constantly judge and berate and undermine yourself. Yeah, talk down to yourself. You're the opposite of your own best friend. Like, this is also suggestive of a confidence gap. So I've given you lots of examples, like the thoughts that you might be having, the feelings that you might be experiencing in the workplace, and of course all of those behaviors that are suggestive that you have a confidence gap. So now you know you have a confidence gap. Here's why this is so important. Actually, before I tell you why it's so important, what I want to highlight and to sort of wrap all of those signs up for you really neatly so that I can then go on and refer to it much more clearly is those signs of like what you're thinking and feeling. The I don't deserve to be here, or my success is down to luck, and I'm a fraud and I'm going to be exposed, and feeling not enough. Like, these are what I describe as the classic signs of imposter syndrome, right? Classic signs because, like, when imposter syndrome was first talked about, when the phrase was first coined, 1978, so long ago, like that, those were the signs that were identified, right? So you might be familiar with those, familiar with the way we describe imposter syndrome. But then there are all of those behaviors that I've just been through, all of those ones that I've listed. Like, I'm interested to know, if you're watching this on the replay, like how many of those behaviors resonate with you? Like, put in the comments or DM me and tell me which are your top 3, right, that you find yourself doing in the workplace that indicate you have a confidence gap. So what those behaviors are, I describe those as the secret signs of imposter syndrome, because those behaviors, when they can be linked back to the fact that you feel not enough, right? When you peel back the layers of those behaviors and we ask, well, why do you do that? What is it you're trying to avoid by being a perfectionist? What is driving you to keep your head down, right? Keep your head down and hope, avoid the limelight. What drives you to avoid those opportunities that you're perfectly qualified for? And I use perfect in that expression, inverted commas. I don't mean you're actually perfectly qualified for them. Don't misinterpret that. All right. What's the reason? So when you can look behind the actual behavior and identify what's driving that, what you'll discover are those same feelings and thoughts that we see as classic signs of imposter syndrome. And so what that shows, and this is why I call it secret, those behaviors are actually secret signs of imposter syndrome. I want to encourage you to really start to notice those behaviors in yourself and be able to recognize what they are. It's so important for this confidence work, so important to help you overcome the imposter syndrome that lies behind those behaviors, okay? So that you can show up more to your potential, so that you feel confident in the moment, have the confidence to get to work and achieve whatever it is your career goal is. All right. So knowing what those signs are, being able to recognize them, the secret signs, as well as the classic signs of imposter syndrome, is absolutely essential for this work, and is really going to help also with what I teach you about closing this confidence gap. Okay. So here's why this is so important and worthy of a whole episode on this session. In this session, number one, the bigger the gap between the confidence you have earned from your life experiences, your lived experience, right, and the confidence you feel when it's time to get to work, the bigger that gap, the bigger the gap of well, the bigger the potential gap. Nearly fluff that then. What I've written in my notes here, which explains it much more clearly, is this is the measure of your unfulfilled potential. Okay, think about that. The bigger that gap, the bigger or wider the gap between your actual potential that you are performing to right now and your, I'm not saying that right, the bigger the gap between your lived experience, right, and your confidence in the moment, right, that gap represents your unfulfilled potential. I can't seem to get this out while live to all the channels and recording the podcast. It must be the time in the day. So all I want you to take away from that, without me confusing you, is that there is this confidence gap, and that confidence gap correlates to like your unfulfilled potential. So as long as there's a gap, then you have unfulfilled potential. Here's why this is really exciting. It means you're capable of more, right? If you've got a confidence gap, it means you are capable of more. And what I love about that is when you have that sense you're not performing as well as you would like to, or perhaps not performing as well as other people expect you to, it can no longer be attributed to a capability issue. It's nothing to do with your ability or lack of ability. It's purely a lack of confidence. It's purely a confidence gap. This is so important because I've had several conversations with law firms who I work with, and particularly I've been speaking to about an offering for their junior lawyers, and why and how some of their perhaps more junior Black lawyers, for example, are really struggling to perform to the level of their expected potential, right? And there can be, and there has been suggestions that, for example, as a result of the social mobility and diversity initiatives of the last few years, perhaps the standard is lower, perhaps the capability isn't there and what I want to offer just while I'm here. For those of you who are working in those inside law firms and making those observations and wanting to understand what's going on, I want to offer, this is not a capability problem, this is a confidence problem. This is a difference between the confidence that comes from the lived experience, right, or your lived experience coming back to you as the Black lawyer, and the confidence you just feel in the moment. And often the reason for that confidence being lower in the moment is because of the environment, because of how you're made to feel, because you're in an environment which isn't diverse, because you don't feel included, because you're subjected to racism or microaggressions, because you don't feel you can be your true self. Like, think about that, how different that is and how much that changes. It's so important to understand the confidence gap, because that way you know exactly what you need to solve. We don't need to solve for capability, we solve for confidence. And that's what I'm going to be helping you to do in this session. Okay, so let's talk about that then. How do you close the gap? We want to close the gap because we want you performing more to your potential. We don't want you feeling stressed and anxious and not enough. We don't want you overworking, being a perfectionist, laboring over emails, excessively checking your work and spending all of your time doing the things that don't actually get you noticed or recognized or promoted. Okay, so we want to solve for this. And the sooner we can start the work of solving for this, the sooner you can get to work to narrow that gap between how confident you should be and how confident you feel. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it, isn't it? There's how confident you should be based on your lived experience, and then how confident you actually feel when it's time to get to work. The sooner you get to work to bridge that gap, to reduce that gap, the sooner you will start enjoying your work more, feeling less stressed, delivering more to your potential, being more like visible, feeling more valued, attracting more opportunities, attracting more support. Yeah, everything opens up for you. Like, the more you close that gap, the more things will open up for you, and the better, more fulfilled you will be in your work, which is what we want. Okay, let's talk about how we do it. How do you close the gap? The answer is simple. What you need 100% to close this gap, which is also another way of saying what you need to overcome your imposter syndrome, is you need an imposter speech. You need a speech, a pep talk, the speech to say to yourself, to tell yourself, the talking to give yourself in the moment when it's time to get to work and you are not feeling the confidence. it's time to get to work and your imposter syndrome has been triggered and all you can think is, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not articulate enough, I'm not educated enough, I didn't go to the right university. In that moment, when you catch yourself overworking, when you catch yourself being a perfectionist, when you catch yourself procrastinating because you want to avoid getting to the job because you don't think you know enough, right? When you catch yourself second guessing, spiraling over and over, like round and round in indecision, when you catch yourself sidestepping those opportunities, hiding from the spotlight. So in the moment when your imposter syndrome is triggered, you catch yourself doing those behaviors or having those feelings or those thoughts, all you need is to know exactly what to say to yourself in that moment to connect you to the version of you that is capable of anything you set your mind to. And this is the big reveal. The confidence gap is the difference between the version of you that's capable of anything you set your mind to, and then the version of you right now sitting in front of a piece of work that seems really hard and you're doubting completely. You've forgotten who you are, you've forgotten how capable you are, and you're just in the moment with the task and you do not feel confident at all. So the imposter speech is just the speech that you give yourself. It's a talking to you give yourself in that moment when you know you're not showing up to your actual capability. It's when you need the confidence to get to work, but you're not feeling it. It's when you know that you're doubting yourself, but actually behind the scenes, like the real version of you, the more capable version of you has like all this lived experience that shows you how the confidence you should be bringing to that task. Yeah, so the answer is your imposter speech. And it literally is that, a speech that you give yourself when your imposter syndrome has been triggered. It's just so good. It's so simple, and yet it's so powerful. And here's why it works. You don't create your speech in the moment when you are lacking in confidence, when you are feeling not enough, when you are hiding. You don't create your imposter speech then. You can't create your imposter speech then. You are in the thick of feeling less than, feeling not enough. It has to be something you've already created. It has to be something you've created when you've taken yourself to the version of you, to the person who has this whole host of lived experiences, professional and personal, everything that you are. When you are in the highest, what's the best way of describing this? When you are in the highest level of connectedness to that version of you, that's when you want to create your imposter speech. And then you want to have it as something like you carry around in your pocket, metaphorically, right? You can have it on a piece of paper, of course, but you want to learn it so much, you've internalized it so that when your imposter syndrome is triggered, when you're not feeling confident in the moment, when you don't have the confidence to get to work, to tackle the task in front of you, to speak up in that meeting that you're being required to speak up in, to speak in front of that panel or directly to that client in the moment, when you lack the confidence in the moment, what you want to have, like literally in the palm of your hand, in your pocket, wherever you want to visualize it being, you want to have that speech to be able to tell yourself, which connects you quickly, directly, powerfully to the version of you that's capable of anything that you set your mind to. That's it. This is how you close the confidence gap. And here's what's so exciting. Oh, thank you. It's good to see you, Miriam. It's good to see you too. It's delightful to be here live. But here's why this is so powerful, right? When you start using your imposter speech, in those moments when you're doubting yourself, you don't have that confidence, here's what's going to happen. Number one, most obviously, you're going to feel more confident in the moment and be able to get to work. So the quality of your work, the quality of your performance, how you deliver in that moment on that task is going to be so much higher because it's going to come from a level of confidence in who you are. And when you show up as that confident person who's confident in who you are, in other words, as the version of you who's capable of anything you set your mind to, your performance is going to be so much better than if you're sitting there doubting yourself, questioning whether you're enough, thinking you need to overwork, thinking everything needs to be perfect, procrastinating, spinning in indecision. Like that version of you does not do your best work. The version of you that's capable of anything does your best work. So in the moment, you using that speech, it brings forth the version of you that's capable of anything you set your mind to, and you do great work. And what's fantastic about that is you can be tackling a task you've never done before. You can be in a completely different arena, like on the spot, dealing with a mega challenge, something that's never been encountered before. It's not in your skill set. You bring the confidence in who you are to that task so that you can get to work on that task from a place of confidence. What will happen is the more you do that task, the deeper into it you get, the more you then repeat, the more you get to work from that place, the more you build the skill set in that task. So what happens is you then build confidence in what you do. And there's a difference, my friend, that's very important for you to recognize, the difference between confidence in who you are and confidence in what you do. That difference is important in so many different, from so many different perspectives, but I'm going to highlight two. Number one, what it means is you can be approaching a task you've never done before. And if you have confidence in who you are, you're able to show up and do well at that task, do well enough at that task to be learning very quickly. You will learn and develop your skill set very quickly when you approach a difficult or unknown task from a place of confidence in who you are, right? And that, my friend, is the fastest way to grow your subject matter expertise. You keep doing the work, you keep approaching the subject, right, from confidence. It's going to build your expertise really quickly. You're going to develop a skill set. You're going to develop your skill set really quickly because you're always coming to it at your most confident level. What it will also do, which is slightly separate from the performance element, but what I love so much about this confidence in who you are, is that in receiving negative feedback, actually there is a link, because as you're learning a new skill, doing a new task, you might receive negative feedback. There might be bits that didn't quite work or you got slightly wrong, for example, right? But in doing that, then any negative feedback, any feedback that comes back to you doesn't then hit you, right, at a personal level. You don't make it mean something about you. The confidence in who you are never changes. Any feedback that comes in is simply feedback based on the task itself. So it never means anything about you. It doesn't change confidence in who you are. And all it becomes is information that you then use and then reapply as you go back to the task, as you improve the task, right? And in doing so, you build confidence in who you are. I hope you can see the difference. And what that means is we need to build, you need to build, I have built confidence in who I am first, because that is the foundation of developing and growing your confidence in what you do, your confidence in what you do, your competence in what you do, your capability. Okay? So those two different types of confidence are really important. I'm going to be making, like, always talking to the distinction between those two. So as I said, as you start to apply what I've been teaching in this session. So the fact that you need an imposter speech, you need this pep talk, and you need to have it ready, pre-prepared when you're in the highest level of connectedness to the version of you that's capable of anything you set your mind to. So having that imposter speech ready, knowing that you're actually in the behavior of imposter syndrome, that's also something it's important to know, which is why I really take my time to describe those behaviors so you start to learn them, recognize them. So knowing when that's happening and being able to draw on that imposter speech and give that speech to yourself to connect you with that version of you, right, that has confidence in who you are, because you are capable of anything you set your mind to. This is how we close the confidence gap. This is how we elevate your performance, your delivery to your highest potential. And what I love so much is the more you do that, the more your confidence is going to compound, because what you're going to be creating every time you show up, right, at your highest level, every time you use your imposter speech, and that gives you the confidence to get to work, whatever the product is of that work that you do is going to feed the life experience that then builds confidence in who you are. It's just this fantastic loop that keeps looping around, right? Keeps reinforcing. I think I mean a reinforcing circle. Don't know where my words are this evening. But what you've got then is confidence in who you are, gives you confidence in what you do, which builds on, feeds, compounds over time into more confidence in who you are. So we've got this wonderful loop that just keeps reinforcing itself. And what happens then is your confidence just continues to grow and grow. And that confidence gap gets shorter and shorter, or narrower and narrower. This, my friend, has been my experience. Like, I had the most ridiculously wide confidence gap. It was so wide. The difference between what I had experienced in my life, the challenges I'd overcome, the successes I'd had in overcoming those challenges, and throughout my school career, my university career, my legal career, all of that was it was like two different people. There was the confidence that I had earned through those experiences. And then over here was the confidence I felt, or rather did not feel, in the moment when it was time to get to work. And yet through this simple, but just the most effective transformational tool, the imposter speech. I didn't know it was the imposter speech when I worked out the process for creating this speech. I've called it the imposter speech, so I can now teach it to you, because I want you to have this experience as well. I want you to have the experience I had of closing that confidence gap, right? Of really being able to connect to the most capable and powerful version of myself in the moment. It's literally in the moment when you're getting to work. That's when we need it. And that's why the imposter speech is so powerful. So this has been my experience, to use the imposter speech over and over and over again as I encountered bigger challenges, as I encountered setbacks, as I had more successes, as I brought those into my imposter speech, into my, they became part of my lived experience that then fed the confidence in who I am. Like, my experience now is that the gap between my lived experience and the confidence I feel in the moment is so narrow now. And then what happens is I set bigger goals. So actually I set bigger goals when my confidence isn't there, but I have this skill set. And this is so beautiful. I want to add to that this is something that is like this icing on the cake. As you do this work, you're going to build the skill. And this is the only skill really when it comes to confidence work that you will ever need. You will build the skill of feeling that you don't have the confidence to do something, right? You'll build the skill of being able to connect with, right? So you'll be aware of that confidence gap. You'll have the skill of closing that gap by connecting to the version of you that's capable of anything and having that person show up to the task. If you can do that, it means you can progress at any level. You can build any skill set. You can learn any discipline, any task. You can become the expert in any subject matter when you have the skill of being able to access the level of confidence that comes from your lived experience. The confidence that basically brings you the resilience, the resourcefulness, right? That enables you to get to work on the task and figure it out. So powerful. So you don't just get that value in the moment, being able to get on with the work at your highest level, using your highest level thinking and problem solving. And it's like being solution focused. That's what it does. That's what happens when you are connected to that version of you that's capable of anything. You bring the most capable parts of you to the task. So it's about being able to do that on the job in the moment, and the impact that has on you over time, the ability to keep growing, then set bigger goals, and always, it's almost like deliberately stretching that confidence gap and then always knowing how to narrow it. So powerful. Makes you, by the way, unstoppable. There'll never be a point at which you think, oh, no. Well, I don't have the confidence to do that, so that's impossible. You'll be like, okay, I don't have the confidence to do that right now because there's a confidence gap, but I now have the skill. I know how to bring that gap up. I know how to shorten it. So good. All right. So this is work I want to encourage you. I was going to say, I implore you. I cannot overstate how important it is that you get started on this work right now. I talk about building confidence, right? This is what you're doing when you learn to overcome your imposter syndrome using your imposter speech. When you learn how to overcome it, and bring confidence in who you are and use that to get to work. Every time you do that, you build your confidence further. And I use that word build on purpose because you're building it. It's not something you go and do one day and then that's it. Your confidence is complete. You want to be building it. And that means the sooner you start building, right, the stronger, quicker, or more robust your confidence is going to be sooner. Yeah. And the sooner you can access this confidence, the earlier in your career you can access this confidence, I promise you, the easier you're going to find it to navigate the challenges of being in this industry, navigate the challenges of being the only one, navigate the challenges of being and succeeding in a white world. You want to be building this confidence right now. I am coaching Black lawyers at a very senior level who do not have, because they haven't, either I hadn't created the imposter speech as a process to teach them when they were junior, right? Maybe I was still figuring out my own solutions then, figuring out what the imposter speech was and how I would teach it. So I wasn't teaching it to them when they were junior. They didn't have access to what I am teaching you right now. Yeah. So I'm seeing this come up as a challenge at the highest level. So if you're a junior Black lawyer in particular, there's never been a better time for you to start doing this building work. I want to encourage you to think about it as an investment in the same way you would think about a financial investment, right? What is it about investing, like when you invest money, that makes it like the most worthwhile activity? You can invest small amounts. Like if you start early, you can invest small amounts. And what happens is, of course, you get compounding interest. The value over time, it grows exponentially, right? Through just even the smallest investment. So it only requires a small investment of your time, of your commitment, of your dedication, and it just requires your consistency in doing this work. Keep using your imposter speech, keep building on it, keep applying it, keep noticing when imposter syndrome is being triggered and you're in one of those behavioral cycles. Bring your imposter speech so you can show up with confidence, like have the confidence to get to work. And that over time, just think about how that's going to compound over the lifetime of your career. And you don't have to wait for it to compound. You will be able to see the value every single day. All right. Okay. So we've covered, I've covered everything. I've covered what the confidence gap is, why it's important, how you know you have it, and of course, most importantly, how you close that gap. So if you are a Black lawyer, it doesn't matter what level of seniority you have. As I've said, like this is coming up, the confidence issue, the self-doubt. A lot of you are very confident, especially at that senior level. You might have the confidence in what you do, but what's missing is the foundational confidence in who you are. In other words, you still have that confidence gap. So I want to encourage, it's just as applicable to you at the senior level as it is to the most junior trainee, even the student, the aspiring lawyer. There is no time too soon to start building your confidence, to build this skill, right, of being able to close the confidence gap, where actually your lived experience, your earned confidence is like so high, but actually how you feel in the moment, it's really low. You don't feel that confidence at all. So the sooner you learn to close that gap, the better it's going to be for your career. And I promise you, the more you will enjoy your career, not just be successful, the more you will enjoy it and the more fulfilled you will feel, because there'll never be that feeling. Remember, I said the confidence gap is literally the measure of your unfulfilled potential. So you will always feel in control of being able to fulfill more of your potential by closing that gap. All right. If you have any questions about the confidence gap, if you feel you have a confidence gap and you'd like to make that gap shorter, if you'd like to build the skill set of overcoming your imposter syndrome in the moment, so that literally when you're faced with a task or you're in the meeting, when you're on the spot like that, you have the confidence to get to work and show up at your highest level so you can perform to your actual potential. Yeah, then DM me, message me. If you're a Black lawyer, then I want to invite you to join Confident Black Lawyers. Enrollment is open. It's for lawyers at every level. It literally sets out a 5-step process that I've created. I've broken it down, right, to help you create your own personal imposter speech so that you have that speech ready for you, available whenever you need it in the moment to overcome your imposter syndrome and have the confidence to get to work. All right. It's been a pleasure. Great to see you. Great to speak to you. I'll be back as usual this time next week. And in the meantime, think about that confidence gap, my friends, and think about what's possible for you when you learn the skill set of closing that gap. DM me or add your comments if you've got any questions. Bye for now.